It's 95 and 96.1 The Rock as we roll on the Struggle Bus today. We are excited to have a chance to talk to one of the most popular authors in the country, talking about productivity and overall how to be more awesome. Bob Sutton joins us to chat about his latest book. And normally, Bob, I would just introduce the book and say, here's the title of the book. But I don't know if we can say the name of your book on the radio, can we?
I think we have to censor.
Okay, so Bob, I'll let you self-censor. Give us the title of your book.
It's called The No A-Hole Rule, How to Deal with People Who Treat you like dirt, and we're leaving out a few letters.
Absolutely.
Sounds good. Bob, how'd the book come about?
Same letter.
Well, about a decade ago, I wrote a book about how to build relatively jerk-free cultures, and so a lot of companies do that. A lot of them don't, but in the process, what happened was I got just deluged with people telling me stories about the jerks in their lives. Everybody from people who work at Costco to all sorts of people who are oppressed by bosses in nasty situations. And so after 8,000 emails and studying the academic literature, I came up with this book, The A-Hole Survival Guide, and the idea is to help people who have got a jerk in their life or a bunch of them, and to help them figure out what to do about it, because if you've got somebody like that in your life, it'll make you sick and it'll mess up your productivity. That's how it came about.
I think we all have some sort of jerk in our life. Did you have to throw in a little personal experience, and can we call some people out?
Well, I do call people out. I try to stay away from politicians because they're so volatile that it's just a mess, honestly. But there are people who are jerks, and they certainly exist. For example, we had the CEO of Uber out where I live. That guy was a jerk, and it was nice to see him brought down, but it was very tough to deal with him. But if we've got a jerk in our life, sometimes calling them out or confronting them, well, that's a good idea if you've got some power and you got some exit options. But for a lot of us, it's really dangerous, and we just have to endure. So there's other ways to deal with the day-to-day jerks, such as laughing at them, being nice to them and rising above them. That's another way to do it. Keeping your distance from them is another thing that we recommend. But dealing with jerks is a tough thing, and everybody's got to figure out their own path.
Okay, so dealing with jerks in a workplace is a completely different thing than dealing with jerks, let's say, who are your best friends or your family. Do you touch that in this book? Do you call any family members out?
As a follow-up to that, is there a way to definitely spot an a-hole? I mean, because is it possible that you might think someone's an a-hole, but they're actually not really? Are there definitive qualities that define
an a-hole is just somebody who, when we're around them, makes us feel like dirt. And that might be your problem, and it might be their problem, but a lot of times it's their problem. And there's three ways that they tend to do dirty work. So the classic one is the person yelling at you or insulting you. That's sort of standard. But a really effective a-hole is sneakier than that. You've got backstabbers, somebody who is really nice to you to your face, but then just like goes after you behind your back. That's a tougher one to deal with. And one of the worst kind of a-holes is the people who treat you like you're invisible, like you're nothing. So there's a range of things that they do, and to me the most difficult ones to deal with are especially the backstabbers. Because in that case, you kind of got to form a posse to help fight back against them and to let you know about the bad gossip and the bad behavior. So the different techniques you use will depend on the nature of the a-hole, and the sneakier they are, the sneakier you got to be.
Okay, Bob, one question. Has anyone read this book and reached out to you and said, oh my God, I'm the a-hole?
No, but
no?
They will write me, and they will say, and this is the main notion in the book, they will write me, they'll say sometimes they're a recovering a-hole, and they're trying to spend, sort of like a recovering alcoholic, and spend the rest of their life being nice. And then the other thing that happens is when I have, and this is not just through emails, when I have longer-term relationships, and this happens with me too, I will cop to it. When people are in situations where there's a lot of nasty behavior around them, sometimes one of the most reliable way to create a-holes is to treat other people like dirt. So if you throw mud, they throw it back at you. And that's one thing in some of the conversations that I've had with people. You look at some of the research, and I admit in my own situations, there's certain people who are always nasty to me, and I kind of figured out it's because I'm always nasty to them.
Yep.
So that's where people have sort of copped to it. But to your point, people are very hesitant to recognize their own weakness, including when they're a-holes, and it's a big problem.
So not only could this be on how to deal with people that are creating difficulty in your life, but also maybe a little self-reflection could be involved when reading this book.
Yes. I think some self-reflection. One thing, following also the previous question, the worst way to figure out if you're an a-hole is to look into your heart and figure it out. The best way is to have close people in our lives, coworkers, friends, a spouse or something, who will tell us the truth about when we're acting like a jerk or we're getting worse. That's the absolute best cure. The worst is to just try to do it without help from other people. So don't look in the mirror, look to your friends for advice in reality. Love it.
See, and I thought, Bob, you were going to say the best way to get over it is to buy the book. So that was really good.
Yeah, buying the book's a good idea, too. But just a few minutes of advice will be of some value, too.
Absolutely. All right, Bob. Well, we know your time is short, but I do want to ask you one thing before we get you out of here, and that is that if you could give us just a couple real quick tips on how to survive the day-to-day a-holes, how does that work?
So I'll do two. One has to do with where you sit. There's great research, which is that a lot of your listeners will be in open offices. If you can get just 25 feet away from the toxic people in your office where you sit every day, it's probably tough for you guys. You're all sitting in the same radio booth, I guess.
Yeah, they're very toxic.
That your chance of getting fired and becoming a jerk yourself go way down. And then my favorite coping strategy when you're sort of trapped and you can't get out of a situation is to do a little imaginary time travel. This is how people get through West Point and the other military academies. Mm-hmm. They imagine it's a year or two later, and they're looking back on their life, and all that hazing was tough to take on a day-to-day basis, but now it's worth it, and it's all over, and it was nothing. So the ability to look back from the future and get out of the moment is one of the best strategies for protecting your mental health.
Excellent. All right, Bob. Well, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it. How do folks connect with you and get the book and all those great details?
Well, the A-hole Survival Guide is on Amazon, and my personal website is bobsutton.net.
Excellent. Well, Bob, thanks again, and you're welcome back anytime. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you. It's fun.